Hello everybody, my name is Anaëlle. I'm a SSI dive master and a paddy rescue diver. And there is a cat down there, I'm sorry. I've been diving for over 10 years now, including ice diving when I was, I don't know, 8, 10. I currently live in Canada and winter is coming upon us. So a lot of people ask me, how do you dive in winter? How do you dive in Canada, actually? Because when it's -10 out there at the beginning of the winter, it's not the coziest time to go underwater. I don't know, for most people. And I use a dry suit. What is a dry suit? Well, it's a suit where you dry underneath. You actually have clothes under the suit. Because being warm is not only something comfortable, but it's also a safety issue when you're a diver. Because you can get hypothermia and just collapse in the middle of your dive, or some decompression sickness can happen more easily if you're cold than if you're warm because of your bloodstream. You should start using a dry suit when you're diving on water below 16 degrees Celsius or 60 Fahrenheit, or accordingly to your cold resistance. I know I'm a very cold person. I always am cold on my hand, so sometimes I like to have a dry suit over tons and tons of layer or wetsuit. More than just a dry suit, you also have to take in consideration that all your equipment has to be cold proof. For instance, if you are using a regulator, you need it to be cold proof, and in order not to freeze inside it in the first stage or in the second stage, because remember that the water can freeze up to 0 degrees Celsius, so that if you take your regulator out of the water and it freezes, the water expands when it froze and it can destroy the inside of your regulator. Same thing with all your valves that can just break from the inside because of the remaining water. If it's -10 outside, the water is very likely to freeze on your equipment. There is different types of dry suits. Some are more common than others, some are more expensive than others. Nicholas is using a neoprene suit and I'm using a nylon dry suit, but I'm looking into changing mine really soon, so maybe I'll go for a neoprene one. The neoprene is really easy to get onto because they're really stretchy, but they need more weight to compensate due to the air trap on the material. The nylon ones are a bit more resistant than the neoprene ones, but the seals are very fragile, so you have to be very careful, and some of them can be in latex. I know I'm allergic to latex, so make sure you don't have that allergy before putting a tight thing on your neck, because you can really easily stop breathing. If you get swollen on your neck with the latex, it can be very dangerous too. I know that Kevlar are really resistant. That's how the police bulletproof thing are made of, so they're really resistant to be torn and stuff. If you're exploring like quarries with a lot of rocks, that might be a good idea for you. I would advise you to rent some equipment before buying it. That way you can try different ones and know which one you're more comfortable with. The suit I have currently is a bit too narrow for my hips and a bit too wide for my shoulders. I can add some more layers of clothes underneath it to compensate for that, but it's not really easy to put on. So I'm looking of doing a custom-made one because I have very narrow shoulders. So that can be a good option for you too if you're thinking of diving a lot in cold waters. And the last thing I wanted to talk about for the dry suit is how to take care of them. So make sure they're already dry in the inside. Sometimes a little bit of water can go on your valve, on your shoulder, and your pump on your chest. So make sure you dry them out, because it could be very uncomfortable to have dry or moist inside. And the zipper on the back or on the front can be damaged if you don't hydrate it. with some kind of wax of paraffin oil. They're really easy to find, so make sure they're hydrated so they can just, because it's really easy to break them and you don't want a broken zip on your dry suit, because if you don't close your dry suit you'll get water on your suit. So you may know that the heat from your body goes out from the extremities, your head, your hands and your feet, so make sure they're covered. Some dry suits have attached gloves or built-in gloves, some don't. For my feet I usually have 3 or 4 pairs of socks. Just make sure your feet are not compressed, they should move easily. I usually have a small pair of socks, a bigger one and a ski one, so that the layers keep the warmth in. And unfortunately for my head I'm not dry at all from the neck, so I use my regular hood that I have on my wetsuit. I also have my regular mask. I know and I've dived with inbuilt hood and a full face mask, so I wasn't cold at all, I wasn't wet from on my face. When you're diving in a dry suit, your buoyancy won't be the same as in a wetsuit, because you have to compensate for the air on your dry suit. Where you're going deeper, the air gets compressed on you the same way it's compressed on your BCD. So you have to remind to put some air on your dry suit. You'll feel it eventually that the air on your hand gets, so you have to remind yourself of that. But what can happen is that when you go up, your air expands and you go up too quickly, and you have to remember to empty the air from your BCD and your suit. I usually don't put air that much on my BCD and just play on the air on my suit because I found it easier, but some people might prefer to put some air on your BCD, so try both system and just find what's easier for you. The air on my suit tends to go on my feet because I've always had this issue of my feet going up. I've always had that in 10 years. I don't know why. My mom and my sister does the same, so I guess it's a family thing, and I heard a lot of people have this issue. So what I do is that I put some weights on my ankle, but only on my dry suit. I can handle in my wetsuit, but on my dry suit I like to have some weights on my feet so that they go down, and when I go in the water the first thing they do is going down. I don't have to push. If you don't have weights, remember that when you go underwater to contract your abdominals, to put your feet down, because if the air goes on your feet it's a nightmare to put the air back in your head. Trust me, I've tried. And through the entire dive, just remember to keep your feet a bit lower than your bottom so that the air goes on your chest and you can just compensate by moving your torso. If you happen to have your feet on the top and you don't know what to do, just bend your knees and bring them back on your chest, and then turn around or grab something to put your chest on the top, and remember to just put your feet down. It's a good idea to try to do this exercise on a swimming pool or somewhere where you're protected, because it can be very dangerous to grab the first thing to put your feet down, especially if you have wildlife or high currents. It could be very dangerous. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is the fact that I use my regular mask. So when I go out of the water by -10, my skin gets dry and burned by the cold. So remember to have a cream for your hands and your face after the dive. You can also have a hot chocolate to just warm you up if you've been cold. I guess it's more preparation than a regular dive, but it's worth it. Just little thing to think about. But I really love diving in dry suits in winter because the light is so beautiful, especially in ice diving. I hope you've liked this video and found it entertaining. If you have any more questions about diving in winter or diving in general, please let me know in the comment section. I'll do my best to answer it. and I hope to see you next time. Bye!